Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back or welcome to the first time to the Electric Vibe podcast. My name is Kurt Hoffman. I am one of three co hosts. With me, holding down the fort as always, is none other than JD Silva. JD, sir, how are we doing?
Bert, I'm well. How are you today?
Cannot complain, my man. And as a matter of fact, as soon as we started this introduction for our special guest today, I noticed he is in the green room a little early.
Very good. Well, then I should get right to it then. Bert, tonight's guest has a voice you've heard hundreds, if not thousands of times, probably without ever knowing his name. He's been the sound of Hollywood's biggest movie campaigns, the signature voice of broadcast television. He's also a novelist, an activist, and a foundation director. He is Ben Patrick Johnson, and it is an honor to have him here. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ben Patrick Johnson to the Electric Vibe podcast. And Ben, good evening. It's great to have you here on the Electric Vibe podcast. How do we find you tonight?
You found me? Well, you found me via email. But how do you find me in terms of mood and such?
Yes, how you
Very good.
doing? Yeah, good,
I'm
good.
I'm doing I'm doing very well. Our weather here is beautiful. We're
Man.
in season in Palm Springs, and so it's 70s, 80s in the day, and
Oh,
60s at night, and breezy, and lots of birds singing and palms swaying, and uh, I mean, that's why people come here and clog up our streets.
oh my God. Our
Well,
our
I
hearts and minds go out to you, Ben, because,
yeah,
we had a frost warning last night, I think, in
right.
Connecticut, where Jay's from, and I live in the Philadelphia metro area, so, we had to cover our garden with blankets and stuff, so send some of that sunshine and heat our way, would you please?
Well, I will until August, September when it's 120 here.
Oh, right, I know. There is that opposite end of the spectrum you do get,
Yeah.
so so
Ben, I'm sorry. Tonight, we want to talk about a whole host of things, but I guess I kind of want to start at the beginning. Can you take us through your childhood? I know you were born in Arizona. Can you take us through your formative years?
Sure. Born in Arizona, grew up in St. Paul, Minnesota, where my father was a professor at a
yeah.
local college, and I had always been interested in media, in broadcasting. My parents bought me when I was maybe 6 years old, bought me a cassette tape recorder, which was a big deal with a little microphone and the wire. And I went around and interviewed the Southern ladies. This was in Memphis when I was visiting my grandfather. And I just would ask whatever came into my head. And I asked one older woman, "So how old are you?" And she sort of blanched and grabbed her pearls and said,
What?
"There are certain questions you do not ask a lady." And that seemed to go on all the way through extra and forward. I always ask the wrong questions. I ask the questions that are too personal, that are, and sometimes, bingo, I hit a gem, and I'll ask someone something that when they just open up and they'll talk for 10 minutes and um, say things that they've never said before
Mhm.
uh, on the air. And so then I went on. I started college, but they were trying to teach me things that I was already out doing in the real world. So I dropped out of college at 17 and went and worked in radio, and I worked full time doing multiple radio formats until ABC radio hired me out here, out to the West Coast, to
Mhm.
Los Angeles, from where I was in Minneapolis, to be their director of production, and did that for a little while, and then Extra discovered me and hired me to be the first host. That didn't go so well either,
Mhm.
um,
Mm.
and I quit. But when you go through a big show like Extra, an entertainment show, there's a lot of employees, and initially there's a great deal of turnover.
Mhm.
And I'm have been told that I'm reasonably good to work with, and so I had dozens of producers that I had met who went off to their next new job and their next new job, and I was by that point the voiceover guy, and I became through the '90s and the '00s the voiceover go-to guy in Hollywood, um, and writing all the same time. Um, and I had a glorious run, 30 years plus in Hollywood.
Aren't a lot of people that can say that, uh, and certainly you had some mentors in your early formative years, most notably with the legend voiceover actress Joan Gerber.
Jody
And
Gerber, yeah, she,
yeah.
I went to, I did workshops with her, and she was, she was just so down to earth. People would say, "Now, is there some special formula I should drink, or should I warm my voice up?" La la la. She said, "Oh, honey, just take a couple of good swigs of Coca-Cola, and you're ready to go."
My kind of gal, I love it.
Keep it
Yeah.
simple, right?
So salt of the earth, right? So, oh,
Yes.
apart from that, what else did she teach you that no one else could have, Ben? What were some good life lessons you carry with you to this day?
Um, to not take it all too seriously, because we're selling you Dove soap. That was her
Mhm.
license plate. It said Dove.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, yeah, she was the voice of Dove. Um, and um,
Wow, okay.
and or in my case, I was just selling you terrible movies, movies that I was embarrassed. I'd go to the theater and hear and see the trailer and just think, God, is this who I am? Is this all I get? In
Mm,
terms of uh, what to be proud of in life. But I learned to make it just a job
Mhm.
and to have other things that I did that I loved, causes I espoused,
certainly.
uh, and made my relationships and all of that primary. The work took up a lot of time, the
Mm,
voiceovers do. The sessions are 5 minutes, but you're sitting waiting for an hour and a half for them to get ready
Mhm.
to do your 5-minute session, and you can't leave the room because when it's time, it's time. Um,
yeah.
so I learned a lot. I learned, I think more than anything else, relationships, that it's life is limited, and you've got to have people around you that you love and trust,
Yeah.
and who you can be there for, who aren't just there for you. Um, and so I think that has guided me more than anything.
Keeps you grounded. And
And
Yeah.
and and that's actually a great segue, Kirk, because you just mentioned being grounded. And Ben, what I wanted to ask you is, I mean, you went to LA when you were young. You were like 22 years old. I mean,
22.
that's got to be a heady experience. And so, how did you, aside from the advice that you were given, how did you keep yourself grounded? I mean, you're this young guy. You're out there in LA. You're in the entertainment business. And we know what it's kind of pitfalls and things can come with that.
Yeah, yeah.
So how did you navigate that?
Well, sort of okay and sort of not so great. I did fall into the trap to a degree of, here's a bunch of money. Here's a big fancy house. And
mm,
I, uh, had a lot of parties at my house, a lot of parties. I learned from Liza Minnelli that whoever's got the piano, the best piano, they're the ones who get to host the party. And
Okay.
so, there would be the parties at her house, with Madonna and whoever and whatnot.
oh
And
gosh.
then I had the gay crowd over at my house,
Right.
uh, parties, and, I just made my neighbors insane because it was all street parking.
Mhm.
And so, when you have 25 people over, it gets to be much, so I was sort of having to have a valet and a
Mm,
bartender there to serve, and, um but then there were lonely periods.
Mhm.
uh,
Mm.
when it wasn't the good times party, name dropping, um, and it was just me waiting for that call from CBS or Fox or Warner Brothers to do the session, and they'll say, "Well, we're waiting on approval. It may be 2, 3 hours, and it's now 11:30 p.m." And you're just kind of going, "Okay."
Mhm.
Um, I was in a lot of relationships, and I think I'm at a place now. I'm 56 years old now. I think I'm at a
Okay.
place where I'm okay being single and maybe being single from here on out. But for a while, I felt a need to have another next to me, right beside me. Um,
Mhm.
and so and I wouldn't necessarily make the best choices. Um, got myself into some ugly situations. Um, but yeah, when my sister, her daughter is married to the owner of the Minnesota Twins, and she
Oh,
said
wow.
everyone's the same. You just in certain circumstances you add a zero
Mhm.
to the to
Mhm.
to the
Yeah.
numbers. Susan, I hope if you're watching this, that I told your secret. Um, oh, it's okay. But relationships are relationships, and people are people, and um, I think it's what I went through was what a lot of young actors who are no, not necessarily the A-list stars, but the successful working young actors um, go through. You've got to learn what's real and important and what is just fluff.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Stay away from the fluff.
Stay away from the fluff, right? Right.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what, Ben, I was going to get to a certain point, but since we're on this topic, I want to kind of stay in this vein. One of the things I've always admired about you is your honesty, your openness, and your authenticity. And I know I've heard you in other interviews talking about being emotionally authentic and things, but as a man, uh, following you on social media, you're to a certain extent, you're an open book. You talk about the highs, you talk about the lows, you talk about gratitude, you talk about the things that are important in your life. And I think that's really what has been key for me, not just following your professional career, but also your personal, because you certainly helped me. I'm sure you've helped probably thousands of other people by just being you. I would love to see your social media posts, with your cat. I'd love to see your social media post about the turtle. I think that came in the dog. I
Yeah.
mean, and then
We got like 1 million views on that
yeah, yeah.
one.
But then there were the days when you were having your physical challenges, and
Yeah.
you were
Well, I mean,
and
I'm still struggling with that, and I went through almost a decade of substance use disorder.
Yeah.
I used meth for almost 10
Ooh.
years. Yeah, that's exactly the right expression and exactly the right,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that helped end my career. 'Cause I was I was lucky, I wasn't flavor of the week, month, year, decade, and then after a while, they get tired and they want someone new. But I also help myself along by, when you're using certain drugs, you're not reliable, you're not on point, and
Yeah.
with what I was doing for a living, I needed to be precise and on point and able to shave half a second off the end of a spot,
Mhm.
and have it be undetectable. And so the drugs was a big problem. But I also at the same time was on the board of different nonprofits, the Gay Men's Chorus of Los
Yeah.
Angeles,
Mhm.
Equality California, a charter school that was for kids that didn't have a lot of the opportunities that even typical public school kids would have. Um, and It all kind of somehow jigsaw puzzled its way together. it was in 2019 that I came here to Palm Springs to sort of I didn't realize it, but I was sort of starting the next real phase of my life.
Mhm, mhm. So having said that and gone through a lot of what you went through, at the time, I mean, you were doing, trailers for Night at the Museum and Trolls and things like that. And, let's face it, this culture and society is attracted to Hollywood movies, things like that. You were the voice of record for, the networks. I mean,
Yeah.
we heard your voice everywhere. Were you satisfied with your work? Were you satisfied in your work?
Sometimes.
Hey,
Um,
honest.
there were times when I would do stuff and I would think, that was just crap. They paid me good money for doing that, but for, however many $100, I just said almost the same thing 10 different times. Tuesday at 8 on Fox.
Right.
Tuesday at 7 on Fox. 3, 2, 1, and you say your line, and um, you finish, and you turn off the microphone and turn off the transmitter box. Because during the time that I worked, we went from going to recording studios to
Mm,
do voiceovers to doing everything from home, and
sure.
these transmitter boxes to
Yeah.
send the audio back and forth in real time.
Mhm,
Yeah.
Uh, so it's funny that it kind of gave me a little sad feeling when you asked that,
mm,
because sometimes I felt good about what I was doing, and other times I remember I don't know if it was Bad Boys 2 or something like that, that I had done the trailer for, and I went and I was in the theater with my popcorn and my soda, and here comes the trailer, and it's violent, and it's homophobic, and it's misogynistic,
Mm,
and the
mm, mhm,
jokes are all, um, just off color and dumb. And here's my voice telling you these things.
mhm.
And I just thought, is this who I am?
yeah. I mean, as a gay man myself, I understand the pressures of identity. And, before we hit the record button, Ben, we talked about that I swim in a sea of heteronormativity, as do you.
Mhm.
And on
Yeah.
top of it, I'm in a Led Zeppelin covers band singing about squeeze my lemon till the juice run down my leg. Well, it depends on what lemon we're squeezing, but
Yes.
to be sure.
Organic, hopefully.
Or get right.
Well, yes, and gluten free, right?
Yes.
So, but I understand that, guys like ourselves that have had to navigate our sexuality, and, I came out in the early '90s myself, about 3 years
Mhm,
before you did in 1991. So
mhm.
what was that like? I know that there was some politics involved with the demotion, at
That
one point in
extra.
your
Mhm.
career on Extra, right? Thank you, Jay. And you know, and in turn, did that initially inspire you to fight even harder for the different causes in the gay community? What was the impetus, that
It was overwhelming.
Mm,
It made me
mhm,
very, very sad.
mm,
Um, they couldn't say we're firing you because you're gay.
Mm,
right.
Just before the show went on television, they had to say you're not good enough. You should have done this, and rip apart your performances and
Mm,
play politics and make it look like you were just no good, that they'd made a mistake in hiring you. And that, for a sensitive little queen, was a lot for me to take on.
mhm.
It took years for me to heal from that.
I'm sure. I'm
And there are still moments when, I don't think about it in terms of being gay, but just in terms of just not being good enough.
Mm,
Ooh,
Uh,
mm,
I know that there must be something wrong with my performance, and they'll tell me in a minute.
mm.
mm.
And Ben, that's very telling because I remember when you were part of the big three or the big four,
Yeah.
Don LaFontaine and Joni Gerber, and I mean, going through all of that and then fighting these things in the background, um,
Mm.
it's a testament, and I think, in a strength of character that you were able to navigate that. And yes, we all go through highs and lows, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is that everything is not always as it seems. You can be in media, you can be in entertainment, and everybody thinks it's all rosy, but
Yeah.
but you're real people. It's real life.
Yeah. By the way, Don LaFontaine, you mentioned along with Joni Gerber, Don LaFontaine was somewhat of a mentor to me.
Mhm.
He he had his voice down in here, and he had a
Yeah.
limousine that took him around.
Yep.
The most number of sessions he did, recording sessions, I almost got him. My most number of sessions in a day was 20, and I think he had 24.
Okay.
The most number of recording sessions he'd done in one day. And
Mm.
I mean, what do you do besides just grin at that point? Stress a little bit, like, because then tomorrow there's going to be no work. No one's going to hire me. I'm not going to be. With a lot of that stuff, it's all freelance. And so you don't have a contract with Fox that says that you're going to advertise 6 of their television shows for the next 5 years. You
Mm.
just, you just get a call to, okay, today Fox wants you at 4. CBS would like you at 5:30. Um,
Mm.
and then there would be days when there was no call. The phone didn't ring.
Hmm.
Um, and that's scary, not
Yeah.
knowing if you have a job or not, especially after the whole thing with Extra and being told, you're our great wonder discovery, and except, no, you're not. You don't work here anymore.
Mm.
Um, it, Hollywood's very fickle.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Historically. Uh, uh,
Right.
but you've you pushed through, and obviously bumps and bruises along the way. Uh, so what, apart from the tenets of what keep us our primary, family, friends, what keeps you motivated going today in navigating this uh, weird world that we're in today?
Um, well, it is the family and the friends
Yeah.
and the animals.
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
um, have some medical stuff that I deal with that gives me access to disability, both from the government as well as from the Screen Actors Guild. So
Sure.
I don't I don't have to work, and I'm able to sleep in the day if I want to, be awake at night, read a lot of books,
Mm-hmm.
and I have someone to take care of the cooking and the cleaning and all that sort of thing. So I feel a little bit like an aged prince. Um, I um, I have some surgeries coming up that are going to help with some of the medical stuff. But
Okay.
the thing that I miss right now that's not there is the physical fitness.
Yes. Yes.
Because
I get it.
I was on the cover of every gay magazine you could think of,
I re-
Yes.
okay.
wearing not very much.
Yeah.
Um, and I can't do that now. Probably about I'm 56. You reach a point where that's just you're not saleable in that way. But I realized um, I was talking to someone who was friends with the Marlboro Man,
I
his
know him,
horse.
actually. I knew him back in the
Okay,
90s. Yeah.
yeah, and he talked about how he was iconic, and then it just over a not such an extended period, it just went away,
Mm.
Yeah.
and you're just a guy.
Hmm.
In his case, not in good health.
Mm. Mm. But the many hats that you've worn, Ben, one of them is that you became a novelist.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
the 5 books that you have, and I understand you have a new book coming out soon that you'd like to, we certainly will help you promote that.
Thank
Um,
you.
oh, absolutely. Thank you for your time, and the least we can do. You've written 5 of them. 2 of them feel like they come from completely different people. In and Out in Hollywood is the insider Hollywood satire. And then If the Rains Don't Cleanse is a historical novel about your parents as
Yes.
missionaries in the Congo in the 50s. So, what compels you to write and why these 2 particular stories to start off your journey as a novelist?
Yeah, that kind of bookends things.
Yeah, doesn't it? Yeah.
Um, well, it's at first I thought I would just write an autobiography, and that would be that, and I'd be done. But then I realized, no, I want to tell stories. I want to have more women characters. I want things to be funny. I want things to be sad.
Sure.
And so I wrote several in between, and then we got around to If the Rains Don't Cleanse. My parents were school teacher missionaries in Africa in the 1950s.
Wow. That's
They got their certifications, and they met at college. They were a couple of years apart. My mother, the older, and so that was a bit of a scandal. But I see that smile.
cougar.
Right.
Mom was a
Yes.
cougar.
My mom was a cougar. So they went to Yale for 6 months, got ready, and went to Africa, to Congo, and the goal was to take the gospel with them, but also to, um, and I'm trying to think of the term, where you go into a space that has people that are smart, that are in between, and that are kind of dumb, and you work with the smart ones, and you give them lots of energy and lots of space to be smart, and with the expectation that they will then come back and educate the other ones. But that's not how it works
Mm,
in the real world. We go through what we call brain drain, where the smart ones realize that, yeah, they can go back to the village, or they can go to Brussels in Belgium and work at a high-end office job and wear a suit and live in a building with an elevator in it, and that happened. Also, what was happening was there was a coming revolution. At this point, when they were there, it was Belgian Congo, and yes, it's now the Democratic Republic of Congo.
right.
Um, I got support from the U.S. ambassador, um, which was great. There's a blurb for a book. Have the U.S. ambassador um, write kind things. But anyway, my parents realized it was time to go. Things were starting to heat up, and they asked the church politely, "May we please leave?" And the church said, "No, you're there. Christ wants you there." And this is at a time when they were starting to be violence, and the missions were. I don't want to be too graphic, but things got very bad for some of the nuns, and there was a lot of bullets flying and a lot of machetes swooshing through the air, and a lot of blood was spilled. And my parents got not a dime from the church to get out and make their way home to the United States to try to resume their lives. Um, and so I wrote that, and I finished it in 2009. I had a lot of resources to work from, a lot of magazine articles and telegrams, and my mother's journals. And my parents were still alive at that point, and I was able
Mm,
to do dozens and dozens of hours of interview, getting anecdotes and stories. And
that's wonderful.
so the new book I'm doing is actually
Yeah.
just the second edition of If the Rains Don't Cleanse. It looks something like this. This is the mock-up. We're within the where we can see it. Yeah,
There
right
we
in
That
front of
looks
my
good
face.
right there.
go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Um, and so that's going to be coming out in a couple of months. That'll be out from I'm not sure the timing of when this airs
Sure.
versus that, but it'll be
Well,
out. It'll be at bookstores everywhere.
okay.
Uh,
Excellent. Excellent.
The question that immediately followed my head when I talked about books is, are you doing the audiobook voiceovers for that?
for this, no,
Interesting.
because,
Okay.
well, it's written first person from a
Oh,
26-year-old Oklahoma woman.
Mhm.
oh,
I can carry off some accents and do some character stuff, but I'm not. I'm not going to try to take that on.
I was
Um,
gonna say you'd have to jump up a couple octaves closer to my tenor, high tenor territory for that, Ben. I sound like a chihuahua compared to you.
well, there are days I feel like a chihuahua, so I'm sure it
Hear
balances
that.
out.
I
There's
hear
balance,
that.
right?
I hear it. Me
You know,
too.
Ben, I want to stay on writing just for a minute because
Sure.
what is the process like for you? Is it cathartic for you? Is it healing for you? Can you take us through your process?
It's exciting. Um,
Ooh,
it's full of dread because you know you have to write and you don't want to write and you put it off and it's just like it's like having a sink full of dishes that you've got to wash.
Right,
You know,
right.
you got to get this done.
that never
But it
ends.
helps. it it helps if you can work from an outline, even if it's a very rough outline, a one-page outline for a book. Um, because you need to know where you're going to go next. Because when you're in the process of writing, you're not standing two steps back looking at it. You're right up in it,
Yeah.
and you're worrying about adjectives and verbs, um, and having the character's voice be consistent.
Mhm.
Um, so it's writing is joyful, and especially if you I mean, we're this way with anything that we love doing, even if it's tough. Um, when you look up at the clock and you realize it's been 3 hours since you sat down and you can't account for those 3 hours except that there are 20 pages,
Mhm.
sitting in front of you that you just wrote, and usually that's when it's the best, when you're less conscious of what's going on. Um,
It's
and I
joyful when
may
it
have
doesn't feel like work. I'm sorry to interrupt you there,
Yeah,
but
no,
it's
you're absolutely
joyful.
right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally
Um,
get it. Totally get it. Yeah.
it's tough. It's very lonely.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm back to that thing of, am I any good? Do I have any talent at all?
Mhm.
The gay aspect doesn't matter. Nobody, at least in this day and age, really cares what your orientation is. But there's a lot of there's some wonderful, amazing writing coming out. But there's also just some not very good stuff as well. And
Mhm.
I'll have a friend sometimes give me a book to read that they had written, and I'll be just overjoyed to be able to give them sincere compliments. And then other times, um, it's like, what do I say? Wow, it's vivid. You know, you didn't overuse the word childhood. That's wonderful. Um, but I don't think that writing and books are ever going away.
Mhm.
You know, we have AI now and
Oh,
other stuff, but it's AI to tell stories, and writing is has for as long as we've been able to pick up a piece of coal and scratch on the wall.
yeah, sure.
Uh, it's been it's been the thing, and I think it's going to continue at least through my lifetime. So then I'm done.
I got you. Ben, you brought up AI, and that was something we were definitely going to ask you about. And certainly for a lot of people, especially in a profession like yours, where you're a professional voiceover artist, and you know, generative AI is getting better and better at it's not quite 100% there yet, mimicking
Yeah.
the human voice, but it's getting there. What are your thoughts on generative AI and the implications of it?
Generative AI is amazing, and it has no emotions,
Mm,
um, and never will. Um, you will never be able to have the scene with the actor who just barely begins to tear up, and you hear just a bit of, a break in his voice or
yeah,
something, and
right. The subtleties.
his posture uh, loses a bit. We can do a lot of stuff. Um, it takes because we're playing make believe. We're 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 pretending that it's human beings that are, and it takes. It's going to. There's no way away from it. An extraordinary amount of time and money to um, do a so-so replication of what a good actor can give you on take one. You can shoot a film in a day, you know, if
Mhm.
if you know what you're doing. Um, AI will just it will never measure up. I've seen photographs. We all see the ads and on our social media streams of sort of crackly, broken-looking pictures from the 1920s, and then here they are glowing, and it seems like it's fake, but it's we really can do that now. Um,
Mm,
but it's not real, and on some level, it's not
yeah,
real. I remember in the, '80s, a friend of mine was a pianist, and, it was when the, synth pianos were just getting, pretty
sure.
good.
Yeah,
And he said, "Listen to this. You got to listen to this. It sounds exactly like a real piano. You can't hear a difference." And he played about 3 seconds, and I said, "Of course I hear a difference. What are you talking about?"
yeah,
It's there in the overtones. It's there in the
sure.
breathing and the everything. Reality is reality, and it'll never go away.
Well, you're certainly somebody who knows what they're talking about that end, and you're giving a glimmer of hope on that end because well,
Right.
but the way of spreading, and I don't get too political here, but the way that people can spread misinformation. I mean, so you mentioned about seeing all these feeds in our stuff with this AI slop that they call it. Just
Yeah.
lazily rehash stuff, and they're just using an AI voice to narrate over it, and it's like, oh god, not another one. But then these sites that are AI generated by these folks, are getting millions and thousands of hits and they're monetizing off that. So how do we combat that? I mean, I don't see any policing or guardrails in that regard.
Well, I mean, take it back to books. There have always been
Okay.
just sort of, paperback writer. There's always been, just slop, page
Yeah.
turner slop that,
Pulp
uh,
fiction, as we called it back in the day.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
right.
And, it's there. You can read it, or you can read fine literature.
Sure.
Um,
You got it. Yeah.
yeah.
No, that puts it in perspective. It's nice to hear somebody who's.
Right.
Uh,
And what's interesting for me, Ben, is because you came to obviously entertainment media very organically. You grew up with it, you studied your craft, you practically applied it. You to your point, sometimes you would have to go to studios, then it just ended up recording at home, and you did all those things the way as part of the evolution of voiceover of entertainment, and
mhm.
now to see it almost bastardized by to a certain extent technology.
Yeah.
You kind of live in both worlds, so it's very interesting to me how you've actually framed it very, very well for us, how it's quote unquote come along, good or bad.
Yeah, and, if you listen to a piece of AI voiceover to a paragraph to some narration, you will hear over and over and over and over little things that just aren't quite right.
Mhm.
Um, and you won't have some of the subtleties that you have with a real voice actor who knows just when to pause for a moment and when to barrel on through.
Hmm.
Mm.
Um, AI doesn't do that. And you know, in one paragraph, you may have 30, 40, 50 micro little changes that you do, from
Mhm.
timing uh, to pronunciation to um, emotion. So much of our emotion is conveyed. You know, so a lot of it's visual, but in the human voice. That's why audiobooks work
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
we've got the real human. Would you want to listen to an audiobook that was AI? Oh my God, I would just poke my eye. I just thank you.
Right, right.
So I tell you, Ben, I have heard a friend of mine, actually, Jay and I both know this gentleman, initially gave me a book that they had written, and just as a temporary thing, had the AI voice on there, just as a placeholder, if you will, like a
Mhm.
demo.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it was just like, and then I said, boo, boo," and you can hear the cadences and the speech. It gets glitchy and clunky in spots, and you're like, oh, this is. I mean, I would rather have recently listened to Al Pacino's book, Sonny Boy. And
Mm.
I would
Mm.
much rather hear that gravelly, voice that he has now, because one of his vocal folds is paralyzed, is his
I didn't realize
paresis.
that.
Yeah, yeah, that's why he's not doing much theater acting anymore. He could certainly do movies, if he likes, but, he's a big Shakespeare guy, as you may already know,
Yeah.
and, did a number of productions in London and what have you, and it's like, he just can't handle it stamina-wise because of the throat condition. So,
Mhm.
um, as a person who used their voice for quite some time, uh, how do you sustain it? Was it always been easy for you to sustain it, or were there moments where, I got a sore throat? What do you do when you get a head cold or a sore throat, you know?
You take Sudafed and take a nap. There were only 2 or 3 times when I got when you get laryngitis, you can't. You have to stop.
Right.
And you can't work for a week or two um, until because the more you try, you're inevitably going to push, and that's just going to make it worse.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when you try to conform to what you're supposed to sound like in your own head,
Yeah.
you're stepping on your own feet.
Yeah.
Um, but we would all get colds, and you could hear it sometimes, especially. Um, I mean, I don't listen to much television now, but you would hear someone was not at their best. You know, their breath was not well supported.
Mm.
They sound sinusy,
Mhm.
and you want to like, it's okay, cough. You can cough. It's okay. We love you. Um, but for the most part, and the other thing is you got to be able to voice match. So you're in um, you're in a recording session, and the spot is finished, and there's music, and everything is done, and it's been on the air, and they change the percentage rate of the car or whatever it is from 2.9% to 2.7%. And you've got to be able to punch in and sound
Mm.
as much as you can, just like you did. Um, and there are times when we will actually substitute one voice for another voice. Um, yeah, but just for a few words, or even sometimes it's one consonant that gets
Oh,
buried,
oh, yeah.
and you need the person to go
Yep.
or whatever it is.
Yep.
Oh
Yep.
my goodness gracious. Was there a studio, sorry, Jay, was there a
Mm.
studio that you preferred to work in, or it didn't matter because whoever was paying said, "This is the studio that you were gonna record"? Did you have a favorite studio to record in?
There were a few. There's a studio called Buzzies that was great, and they did a lot of great radio spots. Dick Orkin is the name of a
Okay.
guy who had a company called Dick Orkin's Radio Ranch. He was Chicken Man back in the 1970s, and you would know if I could played you his voice now, you would know his voice. Um, and so Dick Workin was, probably the most prestige, the most exciting was, I worked a couple of times, in Prince's studio, Paisley Park, um, which was you wouldn't know that it was his studio, except the colors were weird, and, uh,
We've been
the
there. Yeah.
hallways just seemed to kind of wander nowhere,
Yep, yep.
Yeah. Oh,
but,
yeah.
we, yeah, there were a few studios. There's one that was at the top of a skyscraper, and you had 360 degrees around you, with a glass booth in the middle for, for the voiceovers. Um,
I have a
but,
fear of heights. I don't know if I could have done that.
oh, you could have done it. It's
Do
it's you weren't right up on the glass. It was just like it was like being at a like in a ballroom or something.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You
Yeah.
know what, Ben, I wanted to touch on your time in radio. You know, when you were working at KGA, you were working at Yummy Hits Radio. What was that like for you? You know, did you enjoy the work? You know, I mean, obviously, I've heard a ton of your spots from when you were
Yeah.
working there.
Yeah.
What was it? Was it fulfilling for you?
It was a little humbling because I had gone from Los Angeles, which is the number one market in the country, to, Palm Springs, which is market 151. Um, but I got to do stuff, on the air here that I didn't get to do. In LA, everything was so formatted and tight and, to the second. Whereas here I could tell a rambling story. I'd get in trouble later, but I always just ignored them. Um, you can't go 3 minutes. Well, I did.
That's being
Um,
authentic, right?
yeah, and,
So it was a better trade-off in the end in Palm Springs?
in the end, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we had no money. It was right during COVID.
Oh, sure.
I was
Yeah.
going out and selling advertising time as well as, on the air 4 hours every morning.
Yeah.
But I was doing what I loved doing.
Yeah.
And this was, during COVID. I would be the only one in the building, literally. There would be the salespeople they were all let go or they were out working from home.
Yeah.
Um, and I'd, get there. The automation machine was running, playing music during the night, and I'd get there and put my key in the door and open it up and go in the studio, and I would put on some coffee because that was going to be my friend for the next 4 hours.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So did you never did any remote work at home during that time in COVID, or did you do other spots for anybody else from a home
I did
studio?
some spots at home. I didn't do any actual shows from home.
Okay.
John Taylor, who does the morning show, does an excellent job. Now does he has always done. Do you hear the dog?
Mm-mm.
No, no.
Okay, she's crying, making a fool of herself.
Oh.
Um,
Well,
uh,
you want to talk about your fur babies for a second because
Do it.
that's
Let's
what
yes.
keeps me grounded, Ben. I want to know the
Absolutely.
names of the dog, the cats.
oh
Come on,
my
man.
God. Well, you've got Coco. Where'd she go? She's
Oh, I
a,
love it,
a
Coco. I love it.
she's a bulldog. She's rather large. She looks more like a sow than a dog. Um,
Ah,
and then I've got two little squirmy cats that they really like a lot of attention. They're
mhm.
Oh, anybody who says dogs are cats don't need the attention and they're aloof aren't true cat owners because I have
no.
two needy boys upstairs, Grayson and Midnight, Jay. Midnight.
Midnight.
Yes.
Gotcha.
I just want to
Well,
make sure you get the name right.
and it's interesting because Ben, your social media has always featured your fur babies. You know,
Yeah.
they'd be in bed with you when you were recovering. They'd be there with you. On a hike. They'd be always be there for you. It's been such a part of your life, and that's again what I really appreciate. It's that authenticity. It's you're just real.
Well, thank you. The animals are a big thing to me. Um, and I've had pretty much any animal you can think of, from a monitor lizard to a caracal. I've had gotten in trouble a couple of times for having um, LA and California are not places where they smile on having wild animals kept uh, domestically. And I had ones get away. They found one in Catherine Hellman's yard, and they didn't know the actress Catherine
Yes,
Hellman.
yes.
Uh, and she called the police, and it was on the news, and I called the police and said, "Hi, I think you're looking for my cat."
Oh my
uh,
goodness.
but when you have, a bunch of money, you can write a check and it goes away.
Goes away. Right, right.
Yeah. Um, which sort of back to what you were talking about, being in my 20s and being in LA and how it affected me. I learned that I could do what I wanted to do and not have any real responsibility for it. And that's, first of all, it's not true. Um, and second of all, um, it moves you. Part of what makes us ourselves is being rounded 360 degrees accountable for our actions. When we're not accountable, um, we don't always make the best choices, either for others or for ourselves. And I fell into that to a certain degree. I wasn't, I think, horribly rude or, um, I didn't make any giant mistakes other than getting involved with drugs. But um, I just did what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. There were days that were car days, where I would just go around to the classic car vendors in LA and just, I think I want a new one. Let me pick one, and just pick a car and take it home. Have someone drive home my day day to day car. Um, when that all disappears, there is a feeling of missing it, but it's nothing like the feeling of having a kitty on your chest, purring, and you know.
I get it. Totally
Right,
get it, man.
right.
I mean, there's some nights, as we are all here at least over 50 some years old. There are certain nights, Ben, as you know, sleep in advancing years gets to be more of a luxury than an expectation.
Yes.
And there'll be some nights I'll get up at 3 in the morning and I'll have my little boy Grayson come up on my lap and puts me right back to sleep. All right, making biscuits and uh, it- we all need those things in our lives, companionship is companionship, and it takes on many forms. And um, thank you for taking care of animals. First and foremost, Jay and I are animal lovers. You got
Right.
Beaumont, and I know you just recently lost
Lila, yeah.
Lila. And
Sorry to hear that.
we wear
Thank
hard
you,
on our
thank
sleeves
you.
when it comes to the animals.
We do.
Sorry.
We absolutely do. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we wear that hard on our sleeves.
Well, and I think that Ben, it's great having you on the show and kind of having this kind of conversation because
Yeah, absolutely.
Kurt and I are the same way. I mean, we are very busy with the podcast. We have the opportunity to talk to some wonderful people in entertainment and some wonderful people just in the world. But it's about the relationships that we create and the
Yeah.
community the community that we build. I you know
Mhm.
we try not to be full of shit. I think sometimes I think sometimes
We may
we're
talk shit. We just
but
aren't
right we don't want to be foolish, right? But for us it's all about
right.
it's just about living. It's about being
Yeah,
kind. It's about taking
absolutely.
care of one another. And I obviously got that sense from you, from following you and especially on social media. But for the last question I wanted to ask you, you've done so much. You've been in entertainment, you've been in radio, you're a novelist, an activist. What is the one thing that you are most proud of?
Mm,
That's a tough one. Honestly, I think it's this book. Um, you know, and it sounds kind of cheesy because here it is, and we've got a new edition, folks. But I put years into that, and
mm,
it it is who I am,
mm.
and I think it will always be that way.
So with the book, and thank you for that, Ben. It's so nice to hear somebody who has this professional career and the man behind the curtain mentality, so to speak. And thank you for allowing us to peek behind the curtain with you because you're so candid and so warm and so personable, but so real. And so many people that we've talked to, a lot of Prince associates that worked for him, keep it 100, as they say in the streets. They keep it a buck.
Yeah.
And you, sir, do it in such an elegant, eloquent manner that it's very disarming. So we really appreciate you taking your time out and sharing your journey with us. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, we wanted to plug your book once again. So when is it coming out again, the new edition?
We don't have a date.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We want to be done with the principal edits at the end of this month.
Okay.
It could, with some books that are really where they do a lot of editing, it can take up to 18 months.
Yeah.
But we should be about a month and a half out.
Okay. May I
And
ask
I'll
the
know.
publisher of the book?
The publisher of the book, Penguin, is
Oh,
distributing it.
cool. Oh,
But
they've been around for it.
yeah, right. Frontline is the name of the smaller publisher that took the project on and shepherded it
Cool.
through the production process.
Well, let's put it this way. And Jay, you and I always know that Ben has a home here. Anytime you want to plug a new book, a new project, anything, please feel free to come back if you'd have us.
We'd love to
Oh,
have
I
you
Love to
back,
have
will.
you
man.
back.
I
Please,
will.
please. And I hope that we can stay in touch. We're very, very grateful for you. And again, I'm just going to fanboy for a minute because this has been a treat. And I think I told you on the phone earlier today, it was just an honor to speak to you. I'm going to tell you when I told my wife, I said, Ben Patrick Johnson called me today. I said, and I heard that voice.
I thank you. I'm so flattered. I'm so flattered. You're so kind. Thank you
You,
so
you don't
much.
understand. He was fanboying on me. We're like, oh my God, we're going to get to talk to Ben. Jay has done, if you don't mind me mentioning Jay, Jay has done some voiceover coaching and stuff, and it shows.
Mhm.
Certainly, I always say I'm the yippee chihuahua of the two of us. And, it's that reedy high Irish tenor voice. It helps when I'm singing, but not necessarily, I don't have that, I can try to get in there, but,
The
it's,
basso.
Right.
yeah, dude, God did not make me a boss at all. But each according to his or her own gifts, and you, sir, have one amazing gift, but most importantly, your sincerity to my ears sounds like that's one of the greatest gifts that you carry. And once again, we thank you for taking out your time. Folks, if you like what you heard, and if you didn't like what you heard today, there's something wrong with your ears. You need a Q-tip. Uh, and saw, if you're watching this on YouTube, which we certainly would encourage you in order to get more amazing guests like the one we have today, is to hit that like and subscribe button. If you subscribe to any of our different formats on podcasts, streaming services such as Amazon Music, Apple Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podbean. What am I missing, Jay?
I
Gonna
think you
come
hit them. I think you covered them all.
for
Podbean, that's a
once.
new one to me.
Yes. Yep.
Podbean. Oh yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. It's a propagator. Jay can tell you a little more about that off the air. But once again, thank you for joining us here. And as I always like to end before I turn it over to Jay, a rising tide lifts all boats. Jay?
I'm going to echo what Kurt said. Ben Patrick Johnson, thank you very much. We're very, very grateful for your time. It's been an absolute treat for us. And I am very hopeful, Kurt and I are both very hopeful that we're going to see you again. A friend of the Electric Vibe podcast. Thank you again. And folks, in closing, like I always like to say, when the universe comes knocking, you have to answer that door. Good night and peace.
Peace.